Bruno, I want to welcome you to today's training call. Our topic today is how do you separate yourself from your competition? In any type of business, regardless of the business you're in any industry or profession, there are leaders and then there's followers. I sat in a seminar myself recently where the speaker asked us to name 3 great managers. And it was funny because we all just sat there sort of staring at each other. The question obviously was not easy to answer. He then asked us to talk about great leaders, and the floodgates opened. And it was interesting because, how none of us could come up with managers, but when it came to great leaders, the floodgates just opened. And he then asked us to name companies who were known as leaders among their competition. And I want to discuss a few of them with you this morning. When you think of coffee, it was interesting because I can remember years ago that I used to be an art major, and we were very busy designing a new coffee can for the Nescafe Coffee Company. And at the same time, Nescafe was designing a new coffee can, and they were worried about their placement in a grocery store. You had a company called Starbucks that decided to take coffee to the end user. When you think of cheap prices, I think Walmart is the first company that pops in anybody's mind. And when you think about lower airline fees and great customer service, Southwest Airlines is always the airlines that people will discuss. And so today we're going to discuss a few things, 4 main topics. Number 1, your main objective as a potential owner of a staffing and recruiting firm. Number 2, recent major changes in the staffing and recruiting profession. Number 3, how do you orchestrate change that will provide you with the greatest return on your investment? And then I'm going to give you 11 specific strategies guaranteed to separate you from your competition. So let's start out talking about the main objective as a potential owner of a staffing and a recruiting firm. As an owner of a staffing and a recruiting firm, your main objective is to successfully own a profitable business. And I can tell you, when I first went into this business, I had every intention of making a profit, and I almost lost everything because I was spending most of my time trying to help the people who really needed me, not realizing those were not the people that my potential clients would hire. Have you ever thought about, when you're thinking about your own business, have you ever thought about making an impact on the entire staffing profession, or having an impact on corporate America or corporate Canada or whatever country you may be from? I know that we sell our training products in 9 countries right now. And it's interesting, any one of you that is listening to me right now, you may decide you want to work from home when you start out and you want to build a smaller company, or maybe you just want to have virtual employees. You may be sitting there thinking, you know what, I want to make this as big as I can. I know one person that has invested in our program. He wants to have a $5 million company within 3 years and asked if that's possible. Well, the fact that he put a time frame on it, he knows exactly what he wants sales to be. What do you think his chances are of creating a company worth $5 million in 3 years? Probably very good, because he's already set up the goals. Too often when you're thinking about going in our profession, you're just not thinking big enough, because truthfully, there are no limits in the staffing and recruiting profession. When I meet people who are not doing that great, usually they're in their own way. They haven't made changes that they need to make. The market may have changed, but they didn't, or maybe they're in the wrong niche. They have the wrong business model. They just didn't set it up properly. I want to discuss right now some recent major changes in the staffing and recruiting profession, because if you're going to enter this profession, it's part of your job to study trends. You've got to, monitor the activity on Wall Street and stay informed of anything that can have either a positive or a negative impact on your business. Too often, especially when you're a new business owner, you get so consumed by the day-to-day demands of your job and just running a business that the big picture gets little or no attention. And it is important that you stay ahead of major trends. It was interesting. I heard Governor Huckabee, ex-Governor Huckabee, speak at a conference I just attended in Salt Lake City. And he was talking about how business is like riding a toboggan. When you think of the type of toboggan they run at the Olympics, by the time you're in the curve, it's too late to react to it. You have to be thinking about your positioning on a toboggan when you see the curve in front of you, so you adjust before you hit that curve. It's the same thing in business. You have to be contemplating, and really anticipating what's coming down the road so you position yourself properly. Hard work does not guarantee success in our profession. It's where are you putting your efforts? What is best use of your time? And let's talk about just some of the major changes we've seen in just the last 2 months. And again, too often we're so consumed with the day-to-day demands of our job that the big picture gets little or no attention. Let's talk about those major changes that have just happened. There have been many major acquisitions and mergers, not only in the staffing and recruiting profession, but even in some of the vendors that we use, like the applicant tracking systems. There's one organization that is buying up many of the ATS systems that we utilize. What about the impact of technology? It was interesting because in a survey that was recently done, over 60% of the people that find us do not find us by our website. They find us by the searches they're doing on their phones, on their mobile devices. And it's so interesting. I travel a lot because I speak at many employment conferences and at the airports. You don't even see laptops anymore. It's all tablets and phones. Technology has totally changed the way that we conduct ourselves in the staffing and recruiting business, and most people are very specialized. There's riches and niches. The more finite you become, the more money you will make. It's not just enough to say, I want to do IT placement or banking or biotech, or medical. You have to have a niche within the niche. The more you specialize and the more, finite your niche is, the more money you will make and the better talent you'll represent. There has been unbelievable growth of the contract and staffing business. I know many of you think about, going into the recruiting business and doing search and doing nothing but placing people in full-time jobs, which that is a very lucrative segment of our business. But the contract and staffing business, that's that reoccurring revenue model where if your exit plan is to sell your business someday, you have to have a blended model where you're doing both direct placement as well as, staffing or contract. The value-added services based on client needs. Most people in our profession have learned that all you have to do is survey your clients, excuse me, to find out what's most important to them. It's not for us to sit there and try to decide what people want from us. We've learned to go to our end users and find out what they want, and then we deliver value-added services. Training offered to candidates to enhance their marketability. Many firms are really working with their clients to prep and debrief them properly where your candidates get hired over anybody else's. Many recruiters are working virtual in this marketplace. All your direct placement firms, all your search firms, your retained search firms, your recruiting firms are adding temp or contract to their business model, and most of the staffing firms are adding direct placement to their business model. You have staffing solutions versus specific services offered. We're trying to do more education-based selling because that's what's working in today's marketplace. And really, we position ourselves as a workplace expert and make our sale much more consultative versus, do you have any openings? Do you utilize outside sources when you're hiring? Those calls don't work in today's marketplace. One of the best ways to stay competitive and informed is to network with the movers and shakers of our profession, because once an individual has attained a certain level of success, they're compelled to share what they've learned, with other people. And these individuals can also prevent you from making the same mistakes and inform you of current trends. This would enable you to adjust prior to the trends, preventing a negative impact on your bottom line. You're probably aware of companies that do not survive a tough time because they were reactive versus proactive, and often they did not know what adjustments to make. And I want to be very honest with those of you that are listening to me, because I saw something happen in 2009 to 2011 that I've never seen before. We lost 60% of the recruiting firms. Went out of business between 2009 and 2011. And I interviewed at least 150 of those owners that lost their businesses to just determine what mistakes they had made. These were companies that had been in business 15, 20 years and just did not make adjustments. They stopped doing client development. They stopped upgrading their clients. Most of them were not a blended model. Most of them only did direct placement. They had no temp or contract. And that's why, to recession-proof yourself, there are certain things you have to do. And one of them is the biggest mistake I saw people making is they had 75% of their revenue coming from less than 5 clients. And you might think, why would someone do that? Like, that just sounds like such a silly thing to do. Why would anybody do that? Well, I think people think you're almost, you've got 5 or 6 clients. They're giving you enough business to keep you busy. And sometimes you just get comfortable. And it's interesting because our profession has been client-driven for years. I mean, for years. because they're the source of our revenue, and they're the people that hire from us, and they give us the repeated business. But what we're realizing now, and where people got in trouble in 2009 to 2011, is that the marketplace was becoming candidate driven, and currently we are in a candidate driven marketplace, and this is going to last for the next decade because of the aging baby boomers and the talent going overseas and many, many, different reasons. But in this current candidate-driven marketplace, it's just as important to develop lifetime relationships with your candidates. Again, if you're truly going to provide top talent to your clients faster than the competition. So see, our biggest challenge is we not only have to provide the best talent possible, but we have to provide the best talent that's available quicker than our competition does. And I see so many recruiting firms, dependent on job boards, for their candidates. And what's happening is the clients are applying to those same job boards, and they don't want the same candidates from us that they can get if they post a job posting on one of the major job boards. And that's why we have to provide talent, that hidden marketplace of talent that's out there working. That's who everybody wants to hire. Now, how do you orchestrate change that's going to provide you with the greatest return on your investment of not only money but your time? Your candidates and your clients will both help you identify value-added services that are important to them. Whether you provide additional services, and again, when you do this and you're taking your direction from them, you solidify the relationships. You want your clients and candidates to constantly critique the service you provide and listen to their suggestions. Because if you listen to suggestions, they're going to lead you in the right direction so your business continually grows. You cannot be afraid of listening to new ideas and taking suggestions from the people you serve. I believe in an outside-in way of viewing business where you see your business through the eyes of the people that you serve. And in order to orchestrate change, I want to share with you a review that my organization, we do this every single Friday. And every single person that works for me does this weekly review, and I do it as well as a business owner. I do one weekly review on my own desk, like my own activity, and then I do a review, for my whole business. And the three questions we ask ourselves at the end of every week is, what did we do right? What did we do right this past week? What is the 20% of what I did that provided me with 80% of my results? Because next week I want to do more of that 20%. Where are my greatest talents? Where do I get the best results? The second thing I want to ask myself every week is, what's wasting my time? I have to stop doing anything that I identify. And I want to just give you a very little, a warning here of what almost put me out of business when I first entered this profession. Is you're only going to place 5 out of every 100 people who are attracted to your staffing and recruiting firm. We never place more than 5%. The number right now is hovering around 3.5%, and that's worldwide. That's not just in the United States. That's in Canada, that's in Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, and all the different places that I conduct training. We place under 5 people out of every 100 people that are attracted to us, but guess who calls us the most? It's the person that sends you the resume that you're never going to be able to place them in a job, you're never going to be able to help them, and it's those incoming calls, those status calls that can put you out of business. And so every week you've got to look at what's wasting your time, and you've got to stop doing those things immediately, because then every week you want to think of, okay, this is what I did this week. I want to do more of that 20% that provided me with my results. But what new idea can I implement in the coming week that's going to constantly make me grow? You always want to be the quarterback of your business. You never want to be playing defensive. You always want to be that proactive person. And when you're some of the questions that you're going to ask yourself when you're doing this weekly exercise are the following. What are we doing well, or what am I doing well? What areas do we need to improve? What are my clients' greatest needs as identified by them? In our profession, the people that don't do well in our profession start selling too fast. They start talking about what we do. What we do calls do not work in this marketplace. When you're out there marketing your business, all anybody cares about is what's in it for me. They care about themselves much more than they care about you. And this is both your clients and your candidates. And that's why what you have to do is go out there and you've got to ask the best questions so you can identify the problems they're having and the challenges they're having. What are their greatest needs as identified by them? Only then Can you figure out how to sell to them appropriately? What additional services should you provide? How are you different from everybody else? How do you differentiate yourself? It's interesting because I speak to a number of corporate audiences every year as well. And the one thing I hear from them, the biggest complaint they give about our profession is that we all call and say we're different than our competition, we're better than our competition, you know, you've got to use us because we're the best. And then they say, well, how are you different? And we all say the same things. And so you really have to think about that a minute. Why should somebody use you as opposed to everybody else out there? You know, do you have the talent in place to accomplish your goals? You know, who has already accomplished what you're trying to achieve that you can learn from? Who can be your mentor and coach? How can you better manage your time to actually work on your business and on the growth of your business? We all have the same 168 hours a week. We all have the same time. You can't manage time. What you can manage is your activities during that time. Give yourself time to think creatively and really learn from your candidates, your clients, and your employees. You know, in the past, it was interesting. If you looked at staffing and recruiting firms 20 years ago, they were cookie cutter. They were all absolutely identical. But because of technology today, the services you offer and the way you conduct your business is really going to reflect your personality and your goals. You know, what is your exit plan? One of the most important things you have to do when you're starting a new business is you have to have a very specific exit plan, because if you don't, you won't set up your business properly. The services you offer are varied and customized to the needs of the clients you represent and to your area of specialization. And you will hear me say this over and over again if you follow my training. There's riches and niches. You have to specialize, because many of the large organizations get these major contracts. They get these national contracts with major companies. And when you try to do business with them, they're going to tell you, well, we have a contract with this major firm. We only hire through them. But I want to tell you a secret. Those major contracts, those firms can't fill all of those openings. So say that they gave them a number of IT openings, and they don't specialize in IT, and you do. When a company that has a national contract cannot fill the openings, do you know what those major companies do? They look for boutique firms that are specialized in a niche or specialized in an industry, and they seek you out. And so you don't have to worry about those national contracts, because those are given at very low rates, low margins. And when they come to you as a niched boutique firm, they'll pay full fees and they'll pay higher margins. Now, I promised you, the name of this session was, how do you separate yourself from your competition? And so what I want to do now is I want to give you 11 specific strategies guaranteed to separate you from your competition. And so all of you know this, and many of you probably don't know this about me. I'm going to send each one of you the recording of this call. I'm also going to send you the handout that has all this information. So if you're sitting there trying to write down everything feverishly, I guarantee that within the next 24, 48 hours, we will have the recording of this call in your hands as well as the handout. And so I just wanted to let you know that, because I am sharing a lot of information with you in a short period of time. So let's go to strategy number 1. You have to think outside in. You have to become a lifetime agent to your candidates. You have to become a trusted consultant to your clients. You don't want to be a vendor. You want them to view you as a trusted advisor, somebody that they bounce things off of. And the more you learn about your clients and your candidates, the more personal things you learn about them, the more they're going to like you. Think about that a minute. Almost always the favorite topic anybody wants to talk about is themselves. And if you just let them talk about themselves and they realize they can trust you, they will never leave you, and they will give you a tremendous amount of business. You also want to create an entrepreneurial environment for yourself and your employees. If you do decide to add employees, you want your environment to be very entrepreneurial, because what staffing and recruiting is sales. This is a sales profession, and you have to understand that or you'll limit your success. And the people you hire eventually, they have to understand it's a sales profession, and everybody is compensated based on performance. Number 2 is you want to conduct client visits at least twice a year. If you're doing local business twice a year, you as the owner wants to meet with your clients so that you're aligning the loyalty of these clients to your company as well as to the person who works for you that they might be dealing with. But there is so much to be learned when you go face-to-face with a client as opposed to over the phone. Number 3, provide an annual prospectus. And many recruiters are afraid to do this. Many owners of recruiting firms are afraid to do this, because what an annual prospectus is, it's you basically giving yourself a report card. You're going to a client and you're providing them with information. These are how many orders you gave us this year. These are how many we filled. This is how long it took us. You know, these are the orders we did not fill, and here's some of the reasons why we did not fill them. You know, here's the names of all the people that we've placed with your company who are still there. And then after you discuss all the orders and all the business you've done with them for a year, and you give them this in writing, then you ask them how you can improve your services and what would it take to get 5% more of their budget next year. What would you have to do? And, you know, we deliver all of our prospectuses in person, but again, if you're doing a nationwide marketplace, you might mail some of the prospectuses out and then have a conversation over the phone. But if they're key accounts, it's worth the investment for you to get face-to-face with these companies. Number 4, conduct more thorough debriefs to create thorough preps so your candidates stand out. The reason that our people get hired over other candidates that come from job boards or that come from other services is they're more prepared for their interview. And the reason we can prepare them better is we debrief everybody that comes back from an interview, so now we know how to basically coach our candidates when they're going on an interview so that they interview better. Most people don't come to you knowing how to interview. They come very good at what they do. They've got experience, they've got skills, they've got stability, but they don't know how to interview, and you have to teach them, you know, how to interview so they stand out. You have to coach them on what questions to ask during interviews. You want to develop a way to touch and grow your database, you know, because your database is only as good as your contacts with them. How active are they? It makes me sad when I see new owners pay a lot of money to buy databases, and they're trying to grow a database, and all they've got is a lot of B and C candidates in their database that they're never going to be able to place. You know, you want to develop a way to touch and grow your database of the type of candidates that you're going to place in jobs. You know, you've got to become known as an expert in your area of specialization. You know, join the associations that represent your industry or your profession. You know, speak at association meetings, write articles, or start a blog. You know, if you're going to place in banking, start a blog about banking that bankers are going to follow. Provide information, because if you're an information provider, you're setting yourself up as an expert, and that's why people are going to want to do business with you. Create a unique referral bonus. If people send you referrals of candidates or clients, you want to definitely have a referral bonus, you know, plan in place. Penetrate your client accounts. You know, so often, and the companies, another hint I want to give you, many of the companies that lost their businesses in 2009 to 2011 only had one contact in a company. And when that contact was no longer there, or that contact could not hire, they had no other contacts in the company. You also want to develop a consistent referral process. It's not enough to just have a referral bonus. You want to have a consistent referral process. When do you ask both your candidates and your clients for referral throughout the entire placement process? Number 10, you want to embrace education. You know, I think that a lifetime of learning has to be something that you realize has to become a part of who you are and what you do, because things will change throughout your entire profession. And you have to embrace education. And just so you know, and this is going to sound like an unusual statement to come from a trainer, because obviously I do a lot of training, but I don't feel that there is power in education. I see many people that are spending tons of money and tons of time trying to learn how to do something, but all they're doing is they're educating themselves, but they never implement anything. When you embrace education, you have to go a step further. It's not only the education that you're embracing, but you've got to implement what you've learned. Like some of the things I'm discussing with you today, what I always suggest to anybody that's listening to me, I'm a very comprehensive trainer. I try to give you as much as I can in a relatively short period of time, because each one of you is going to basically benefit by a different idea. You know, it depends on where you are. Are you currently in business? Are you just thinking about starting up your business? Where are you? You know, based on where you are, those are the ideas that you're going to implement. But again, embrace education, but also realize that the power really comes when you implement what you've learned. You've also got to develop a very strong follow-up process. I can tell you where most recruiters do a terrible job. Once they place somebody in a job, they're terrible at follow-up. Now, they may follow up more with a contractor or a temporary worker because that person is on their payroll and they're interacting with them at least weekly when they're getting paid. But you've got to follow up with everybody that you place in a job, and you've got to follow up with every client to make sure they're happy with the job that you've done for them. I guarantee you that if you follow this advice, if you follow the advice that I've shared in this session with you, you will differentiate yourself from your competition, and you will build a profitable staffing and a recruiting firm that will provide you with the lifestyle that you deserve. And see, that's one of the beautiful, beautiful parts about the staffing and recruiting profession. Just think about this. For the rest of your life, if you have a computer and a telephone, you can create any lifestyle that you want to live. There are no limits on what we do. But again, I think you need to ask yourself, is the staffing and recruiting profession for you? Because it is a sales job, and it's filled with a ton of rejection. And when I first went into this, it looked kind of easy from the outside until I got in the profession and then realized how much there was to learn. But the opportunities in the staffing and recruiting profession are unlimited and can be extremely lucrative because it's a $100 billion industry worldwide, and it's growing. And there has never been a better time to start up a staffing and recruiting business. Every trend out there is playing right into your hands. Individuals who succeed in our profession very greatly. I see people from all walks of life. I just got back from Salt Lake City, and I was training. There were 1,600 people there. It was an international employment conference that I spoke at, and I was speaking to the leaders, the people that own their own businesses, as well as the sales teams. And it was interesting when I looked out at the audience. People were from all walks of life. They were from all levels of education, all age brackets. Some had sales experience, some didn't. But I think the commonalities that I see in people in my profession, I have never met somebody that owns a staffing and recruiting firm who's not a good person. We're basically social workers who like money. We want to help other people, but we also want to create a lifestyle for ourselves and the people that we love. People in our profession all want to make a difference. They all want to have an impact, and they all want to improve the lives of the people that they represent. And think about this. Where else could you be in business where every single day you're changing people's lives for the better? I think recently somebody brought to my attention that I have personally have been responsible for over 10,000 people finding employment. And that was really a wonderful number. Like when I found that out, that over 10,000 people, I had placed in jobs, that was a really great day in my life, because I thought, wow, if I do nothing else with my life, I have helped over 10,000 people find employment. And I'm very proud of that fact. And I'm very happy that I was able to do that and change the lives of the people I represented. The nice part about it, too, is you're never going to run out of inventory. You always hear when the economy dips, people can't afford inventory. Do you realize that 85% of the people currently employed would consider a change? And the reason for the high job dissatisfaction is because of all the things that have been going on in the economy worldwide. And this was done by the Wright Group. The Wright Group, W-R-I-G-H-T, they do studies of job satisfaction. And this is the highest percentage of job dissatisfaction that they've ever reported. So job satisfaction is at historic lows. People are sitting at their jobs waiting to hear from you with a new opportunity, because most people will make a change if a right opportunity will be put in front of them. Companies continue to lay off, cut back, and upgrade. And so the nice part about it is you might think, well, if companies are laying off, is that good for me? It's funny because they lay off the people that do not have the skills they want, and they're hiring, in other departments, and they're hiring people and upgrading people with the skills that they need. Jobs are lost due to relocation often, and people consistently seek new opportunities and higher income level. And again, colleges add new grads to the workplace annually, and so you're never going to run out of an inventory of candidates. I didn't even mention all the people coming out of the military. Think about all the talent that comes out of the military every year. You can also select any niche or area of specialization, and if you want to stand out from your competition, your experience does not mandate your niche. Don't think because you're a banker you've got to go into banking, or if you're an IT professional you've got to place IT. You want to look at the niches that have a shortage of top talent, but also you want to look at higher levels. You want to look where the high margins are. Too many people want to start at a lower level and learn lower level recruiting first and then work their way up. I say start in the middle and then work your way up. You're also not limited by your location. I spoke to somebody that is seriously thinking about opening a staffing firm in a small city outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And she was only going to place people that were recent, graduates, and she was looking at forklift, drivers and light industrial where it's very, very low margin, but it was where she felt she could, place in her small community. And she lives within 40 miles of Atlanta, Georgia, where I know many firms that are placing in very high level positions, very lucrative niches, and I said, you're not limited to only placing your backyard. You can place internationally if you decide to. You can do whatever you want. You can build whatever business you want based on what it is you're trying to achieve. Niche boutique firms are the most lucrative. You want to be a firm that is noted in a specific area, specific industry, because that's how you can be perceived as the expert, and you can multi-use your candidates in your job orders. See, say that I'm placing in accounting, and I'm placing auditors, and I'm placing controllers, and I'm placing CFOs, and I'm placing bookkeepers, and I'm placing payroll people, and I'm placing like 10 different jobs within the accounting niche. The firms that would probably do better than me would be the firms that only place controllers and CFOs, or only place auditors. And they might only place auditors that have to travel. The more succinct you are within your niche, that way if I get a CFO and I'm really trying to write most of my orders for CFOs, that means when I send somebody out on a job, I can market them to my other clients and get them other interviews. So you can multi-use your candidates. Candidates don't only want to be sent on one job. And when you write job orders or temp assignments or contracts, you've got to have 2 to 3 people going into final interviews. Once somebody's crossed out, you've got to backfill that. And so if you're specialized in certain titles within your niche, that helps you become profitable much quicker. You're also never going to run out of prospects or people to develop as your clients or areas of specialization, because hiring top talent is the greatest challenge faced by employers. It's interesting that top talent is the greatest challenge, and it's not only hiring them; it's how do they retain them. Companies are all experiencing attrition of their employees. Remember, 85% of their employees would leave if the right opportunity would present itself. Think about that. Whatever you're doing right now, whatever business you're in right now, what would happen if 8 out of 10 of your employees walked out the door in the next 30 days? How would that impact your business? That's what's happening to companies right now. Baby boomers are retiring at record numbers. It's said worldwide that every 6 seconds you have a baby boomer retiring. And most companies are not prepared for this, but guess what? They make the best contractors. Many baby boomers will come back and work as contractors, on your payroll, making you money. New skill sets will be needed in the future. In fact, they're saying that the students that are graduating from college this year, most of the skills that they've learned through their college education will be outdated by the time they graduate. Employees leave for better opportunities. Most people stay at their job. Lately, it's averaged about 3 years because people have stayed because the economy was a little bit tight. In the future, you're going to see people changing their jobs every 18 months to 2 years. Most employers have employees they want to upgrade. Even if somebody tells you, I don't have any openings right now, if you ask them, is there anybody on your current team you'd like to upgrade, you would be amazed at how many times they will say yes. And so there's always people that work for them that they want to upgrade. The staffing and recruiting profession is also, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, that this is a very rewarding business. Because as you're creating the life of your dreams, you're helping improve people's lives on a daily basis, you have a tremendous impact on the clients you represent. Our services are needed. We're not selling something that people don't need. You become that trusted advisor to your clients. They're never going to want to lose you because you're their sounding board. Candidates will come back to you throughout their whole career. They'll work at your client for 3 years, and when they're ready to make a change, they'll come back to you. You'll become their lifetime agent, and there is unlimited income potential. There is no limit on the amount of income you can earn. And I also want to make mention here, though, that there's also nothing guaranteeing that you're not going to make minimum wage or less. You could lose money if you don't set up your business properly, but if you do this right, you can have unlimited income potential. You have a lifetime career and income security. You will never have to look for another job or another career because you're going to be helping people do that. If you have a business, if you have a computer and a phone, you're in business. The longer you're in our profession, the easier it gets because you've just got this network built up. Your networks that you establish are going to last you a lifetime. You can create the lifestyle of your dreams. And there's no limit, again, to what you're capable of earning or the business that you're capable of building. It's interesting because one of the groups I do some training for, this owner started his business 25 years ago, and he's one of the second largest staffing firms in the world right now. And this was a person that started just like you know, started his business out of his home and built it to be one of the top, you know, staffing firms in the world. And so when I say there's no limit on what you can do, there really is none. It just depends on the type of lifestyle you want to live in and really what you want to build. Now, when you go into our business, you have basically three options. You know, you can invest in a franchise, and they do have structure and training and resources. But again, the average investment to a franchise right now is $40,000 and above, and you have a long-term contract, and they take a percentage of your sale for about 10 years. You can go it alone. You know, that's what I did when I first started. I didn't have any upfront costs, but 80% fail in the first year, and you might not even be protecting your current assets. I made so many mistakes when I first went into this business, and that's why I've created resources for people like you, because I don't want you to have that same experience that I did. And third, you can find an alternative, you know, and I believe that we have come up with an alternative for all of you. If any of you are thinking about starting a staffing and recruiting firm and you're serious about it, we've put together a program called a Startup Tutor that can basically provide you with all the resources and all the training you need to actually open a staffing and recruiting firm. And just imagine for a minute having the benefits of somebody to guide you, you know, when you're making major decisions so you don't make the wrong decisions. It's interesting. The one discussion I have with most people is they're selecting niches that are not going to make them money. I am one of the top trainers in the staffing and recruiting profession. I speak at over 26 conferences annually. I write for the 13 leading publications in my profession. All the forms that you need for your new business we can provide you with. Our program also provides you with a cutting-edge website and mobile site that are set up for you and hosted for your business. And these are not templated websites. These are customized websites based around, you know, your needs, what you want them to do. We can provide you with a resource for the job seekers you won't place, that 95% you won't place, and our resource actually generates passive income for you. And this is exactly what you receive if you decide to consider investing in our Startup Tutor. Now, if you invest in our tutor or not, I have information on our site that I'll provide you with that can help you. I do write a blog for new owners. I will still try to help you in any way that I can. But in our resource, we provide you with a 24-lesson Startup Tutor. You know, we provide you with a year in our Premier Coaching Club. You'll have an 80-day training program that teaches you how to prep, how to debrief, everything you need to know. I do weekly live calls, weekly live training calls every Wednesday where you have 30 minutes of training, 30 minutes of Q&A. I do biweekly coaching calls where all I'm doing is answering your questions. You also have live support. Our program has instant messaging, where if you have a question, you can go to the live support, and there are also over 300 webinars on hot topics in our comprehensive library. And again, the forms you need for your business will all be provided. All you need to do is put your name and logo and address on them. Everything is provided for you. It's interesting because, you know, again, the website and mobile site created and hosted, the person that is basically creating the mobile sites for people that are investing in our program is the same team that creates everything for me. And that career portal for job seekers that generates passive income, that's something that I wanted to do my whole career because I've always felt bad that we only help 5% of the people that come to us. You're going to be able to help 100% of the people that come to you. I know you're probably sitting there thinking, okay, this is going to cost a fortune. If you're going to give, you know, if you're going to provide all this information, this is going to be way more than I could ever possibly afford. And I have to tell you that when we look at the pricing for what we're offering you, and we've gone to business development people and they've said your program is worth 25 grand easy, you know, but our program is under $5,000. And we do have payments available. So if you want to have somebody guide you, hold your hand, mentor you through your first year of business, that's what this program is all about, and it's under $5,000. If you want to discuss this, if you've got questions, you can contact us. If you can get out a pen right now, this is the number to my office, you know, or you can go, you know, you can actually go to the site, that howtostartarecruitingbusiness.com/products, and it shows you the option of the payment plan and shows you how to contact us. But I know most people have questions. I spent 45 minutes with an individual who was considering opening his own firm, and all I did was answer his questions. So any questions that are most important to you, I'm more than willing to answer those because I know this is a major decision for most of you. And again, we did put the option of a 3-payment plan. So if in fact, the $5,000, it's a little under $5,000, if that's too much for you to invest right now, we do have a 3-payment plan available. And again, if you want to order, the place to go is at that bottom link that you see on your page. I can tell you that after being in this business more than 25 years, there's not a better business out there. I guarantee all of you, this is by far the greatest profession you'd ever want to consider. We help people every day. It's just such a rewarding job, and you never get over the thrill of finding a job for somebody. You never get over that thrill, and you become a partner to all the companies you represent. They really need you. And so you're dealing with the top leaders of all the major companies out there. And again, you could do business in your own backyard. You could do business, internationally. You could do business across the country. You could do whatever you want. And, again, we would love to be the person that helps you. But I hope that even if you do not partner with us, that I hope the information that I provided in the training part of this webinar, I hope that, when you get the recording, you listen to it again, you look at the handout, and you implement some of the ideas, because the ideas that I've shared with you today really will help you separate yourself from your competition. What I want to do now is I want to open the lines for any questions that any of you may have. You can ask me questions one of two ways. When you called in, you were given a telephone number, an access code, and a PIN number. The PIN number was like a 4-digit number. If you put that PIN number in, you can click on the attendee list and find your name and see that little yellow hand. If you click on that, I can unmute your phone and you and I can talk. Or if you'd rather type in a question rather than ask a question, you can go to the bottom and you see the word question, and there's a plus sign next to it. If you click on that plus sign, you can ask me a question, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have. If you don't want me to use your name, because I usually use your first name, just put anonymous first, and I would be more than glad, to answer any questions you have. I do see we have some questions down below. Am I to understand that the website is also included in the price that is under $5,000? Yes. Everything I discussed, the website, the mobile site, the career portal for your candidates, the 24-lesson training program, and the core training program, the top producer tutor, all the live calls, everything is included for under $5,000. It's a one-time investment. This is from Christine. What percentage of our sales do you take for the first year? 0. We do not, we are not a franchise. We do not take any percentage of your sales. So there is no additional cost. Once you make the investment in the program, that's the investment, and you've got all these resources for a year. And again, we host your website. We provide email service for you. We get your domain name. We do everything, plus providing the training. So it basically gives you everything except your applicant tracking system, which is the system that you're going to put your candidates and your clients in, but we can give you some recommendations on which ones are the best. And that's not going to cost you $100 a month. But we're not an applicant tracking system company. That you will have to get. But other than that, we provide you with every single thing you will need. Okay, this is from Ronald. How soon before I open my business should I start a program like yours? I believe that it's going to take you 90 to 120 days to set up your business, and it's going to take you that long to get through our Startup Tutor, which is a 24-lesson program, and to finish the training program. You want to get trained so that when you get out there and start doing the job, you're doing it right. And the other thing is the calls, the calls that we have, you're going to be you're going to basically be doing the calls, and you're going to listen to questions other people are asking me. So even if you don't have a question, you want to hop on those calls because you're going to learn by the answers I'm giving to everybody else. This is from Rhonda. Will you help us find our niche? Yes, one of the lessons in the Startup Tutor, Rhonda, is showing you how to select a niche. Because I can tell you, I'm going to give you a couple examples. Like the person yesterday that wanted to place light industrial temp. It's very hard to get workman's comp insurance right now. And if we are going to be covered, if we do have to abide by the Healthcare Reform Act, the margins are way too low. I had another person a week ago want to place doctors. And what I said to him, Rhonda, was, do you realize it takes 10 months to place a doctor and you don't close the sale? Attorneys do. And so even if you close your first placement in 10 months, you're not going to get paid for a year. So can you go without any income for a year? And this man was shocked. And I said, and do you realize physician recruiting have flat fees? They only pay $25,000 per hire. You can place an engineer in 3 weeks and make a $25,000 fee. You can place an IT professional in 3 weeks and make a $25,000 fee. You know, why would you as a new owner place physicians where it's going to take you a year, 10 months to make the placement and a year to get paid? You know, do you really want to do that? And so, you know, yes, we show you exactly how to research and how to select a niche that'll be lucrative for you. So that is part of the training program, the initial startup tutor. If I call this number, can I talk to you? Yes, yes. You know, if you call this number, you know, you can just say that I participated on a webinar. I'd like to talk to Barbara direct, and I'm very accessible to my training clients. I know people say, how are you so accessible? You know, I still have a staffing and a recruiting firm. I have a training company. I do a lot of speaking. But believe me, and I've got a phenomenal team of people behind me. And so when I'm not here, you know, they will help you. And if they don't have an answer, I'm always connected by email and phone to my office. And so, you know, yes, if you call that number and you ask for Barb Bruno, you will talk to me. Okay, I don't see any other questions. I see a lot of you on the line. If you think of a question after the fact, just call the number. And again, I hope that oh, wait, I see one more question from Vivian. Hold on, let me go back down there, Vivian. I see that you just put a question. Let's see here. Do you teach how to set costs for temp-placed employees? What we do is we talk about what type of margin you should have, your gross margin of profit, Vivian. In fact, I suggest that most people that are going into the temp business, you might even consider one of the funding companies. We actually have connections with some funding companies that will give you the funding and provide the whole back office for you. And when you call these companies, you tell them what the bill rate is, you know, the bill rate that the company wants to pay, and they can show you what pay rate and what margin you're going to earn as the owner. So yes, this is all part of the program, because I've seen people quote the wrong rates and lose money on every temporary employee they have out there. They're losing money. And so yes, you know, we will show you how to do that. And plus we can also provide you with the names of funding companies that will provide you with funding in the whole back office. Let's see. Okay, I think that's the last. Oh, thank you. You're very welcome, Vivian. Okay, I don't see any other questions, so I thank all of you for joining me. I would love to work with each one of you. I hope that you consider this program. And remember, you've got to start setting things up 90 to 120 days before you actually want to open your business. So I thank all of you for joining me. I will send you this recording and the handout and everything. It takes our tech team, you know, 24, 48 hours to get us the recording. So you will get an email from us with this. But if you have any questions, just dial the number in front of you, and I would be glad to answer any questions you may have. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a great day. Bye.